Oh, fucking hell. Okay. Wow. I just watched a movie. Of course I did. I'm doing a review. A movie that I'm going to watch every year now. The Ref, starring Dennis Leary, Kevin Spacey, and Judy Davis. About a man, a criminal, a burglar, on the run from the law, and he happens to decide to hijack this couple. But he couldn't have picked a worse couple in the world because these two are currently on the brink of divorce. And what ensues is probably something that the burglar never in a million years would have thought or wanted to happen. So first of all, I gotta explain how I came to know about this movie. Cody Leach here on YouTube has talked about this movie before. He stands for it. He says he watches it every Christmas, and now I'm going to. I bought this. I bought other movies on his recommendation that I've really enjoyed. This, The Lookout, but I haven't watched that yet. But I have no doubt he's nothing wrong. But I've watched other movies like Session 9 and Frailty that were ones that he recommended to his viewers. I think if he recommends a movie, I'm gonna keep going because he's like 3 for 3 right now. I haven't done The Lookout. That's gonna be in my ABC review series when I get to doing that. But The Ref. So yeah, Dennis Leary is this burglar named Gus. He works with a partner who sort of ditches him, and he gets sort of robbing this old man, and he gets shoved down in a trap where the dog bites like his ass or whatever, and then he runs off. We see him at this gas station or convenience store or whatever, and he abducts Judy Davis's character Caroline, and both her and her husband before this scene they kind of interspersed their therapy session with B.D. Wong of Jurassic Park and Law and Order. He's their doctor. He has like a little cameo, and and so he abducts them. And Dennis Leary, Gus, or Gussie, as Murray calls him, and not knowing what to do, he tells them to take. He makes the very worst decision you could ever make. He says, "Take me to your house." Oh boy. Oh boy. That is the worst thing you could have done because the world comes crumbling down the walls. Come crumbling, 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 crumbling the walls. As John Mellencamp once said. Because he gets there, and then all of a sudden, so let me tell you this. I laughed my ass off throughout this film. Most of it because of Dennis Leary. I'm pretty sure that Dennis Leary had the minimum lines in the script, and they just let him, go off on rants. Because that's what Dennis Leary is best at doing, right? I think most of his ranting dialogue was just something he was coming up with. Pretty sure. And that's some of the funniest parts of this film. And so we see other characters throughout because family members are coming. It's Kevin Spacey's mom, his character's mom, and then his brother and his brother's husband and their children are all on their way. They stopped at a Denny's or something to eat before that because they don't like Carolyn's cooking. And they have a son who's in military school who's blackmailing people to get money. He's blackmailing his main officer guy, played by J.K. Simmons, with no mustache, fortunately, but it's very young J.K. Simmons. I was like, is it that J.K.? Holy shit. It's J.K. Simmons. And the cops are now on high alert. And I actually... This was the one scene that I rolled my eyes at. Because it's so, okay... Because it's shown They don't know how, these cops don't know how to work a VCR. That's always a running joke at movies and TV shows. How do you set the clock on a VCR? How do you work a VCR? It's not that hard. You know? I used to work a VCR all the time. They couldn't get to work. Then they're watching It's a Wonderful Life. And so the police chief guy comes in with a tape showing footage from the robbery, showing Gus's face. And when the guy leaves, they're like, oh, how do we get it back? And they get it back to the It's a Wonderful Life, but you can tell in the corner it says record. So they've recorded it. So then they played it back later. We need to see it again. So they go to play it back, and it's a Wonderful Life. I think to make that scene funnier, as they're messing with the remote, you cut it there, you go to something else, you come back to him and go, okay, we need to see that footage again, and then you show it. Showing the screen with record right there in the corner kind of ruins the joke. If you just watch, it's this one, fumbling with it, then you cut, and then you come back, you have the payoff. But if you already show the payoff before the payoff, before the joke is finished, it just doesn't work. I'm just saying. It probably would have worked a little bit better. Yeah, so because the cops are bumbling, they can't find him. There's also other variables. There's a bumbling cop that comes around, not cop, bumbling Santa Claus. His name is George, the guy dressed as Santa Claus, and he's drunk off his ass. And he's giving people fruitcakes that no one likes. Meanwhile, the son comes home, and because he gets in there, he ties him up with bungee cords, and then the son comes home, and he has to switch things around and tie him up with bungee cords in his room. Then the family members show up. And I just want to say that Kevin Spacey's mom is this. It's played by Glynis Johns. You may know as the wife, Mrs. Banks. Oh, of course, he's right. Of course, I'm so sorry. He's kissing the Mrs. Banks. The Mrs. Banks from Mary Poppins, who I just found out today is still alive. She's like 98 years old. Her and Betty White, they're gonna duke it out to see who becomes 100. I swear. The only problem, her performance was pretty good. Her British accent kind of ruined it. No one else in the family has a British accent. And I feel like maybe she couldn't do an American one, but it just kind of, I don't know. It kind of took me out a little bit, but her performance was fine. There is actually, and she is playing the worst mother in history, the worst person in film history. My God, she is just terrible. Because there's a story where they were running this restaurant, but he gave up after only one bad review or something, and now the mom is paying for the house, and so they owe her, so she basically owns the house. And the whole thing is that he doesn't send it to his mother. By the end of this, of course, it's going to go. He's going to send it to his mother. Stuff's going to happen, and they're going to end up back together. That is the sort of, you see what's going to go on, and it's just okay. Even before I started the movie, I started watching this. Before I got too far, I'm like, okay, so this guy's going to kidnap him. By the end, they're going to get back together. Exactly what happened, but it's not the end that you're worried about. It's the ride there, and that's the best part, is all the comedy in between and all that, and having to deal, family get-togethers are already hell to begin with. You got to make sure everyone's there at the right time, I can do that. My brother and his family, they're always late. They got babies, so it's kind of hard to just come on. But they're always the ones that are late. But it happens. Other people are late sometimes. I'm never late because I don't drive, so whoever picks me up, I'm with them. So depends on who picks me up, if they're running late or not. But usually not. But yeah, eventually, there's a scene where he's got the mother, and he's like, "You gonna shut the fuck up, or I'll shoot her." Go ahead, shoot her. They don't care. And They have the kids, the niece and nephew, tying up their own parents, and this one kid, he just keeps putting the duct tape around his mother's mouth, and Dennis Leary's like, hey, that's enough, that's enough. I think that's enough. Are you sure? Yeah, that's enough. It's enough. And and then it's Kevin Spacey that says, duct tape your grandmother's mouth. And she's like, but yes, they finally get all their feelings out in the open, and it ends with them getting back together. The cops finally show up at the house, and because they instituted a curfew, and you're going to go from house to house. The cops finally show up, and so they make the decision to help him get out of there and tell the kid, take him to the docks. So they do. He's dressed as a Santa Claus. They took the drunk Santa Claus shows up, and he gets knocked the fuck out. And then they take his Santa Claus suit and put it on him, and then run off. And then they pretend that they did get kidnapped. But, they're like, oh, they arguing and stuff. And eventually the cops have enough of the arguing, and they leave. And so then Dennis Leary meets up with Murray. He puts off another rant, and then the movie ends. But from beginning to end, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was laughing. I was enjoying myself. This movie is fantastic. The acting, is fantastic. Dennis Leary, Kevin Spacey. I know nowadays Kevin Spacey might be a taboo kind of subject, but he was a good actor. Before, he did whatever he did. I'm not going to pry. I know he did something bad, something, some kind of, and all that stuff, but as an actor, he's pretty good. I never heard of Julia Davis before this, but she was good in this. Glynis Johns, for her part, she was good in this. Even J.K. Simmons. I got to mention, J.K. Simmons shows up at the house because he's had a change of heart, and he tells the parents what their son has been doing. And then their son-in-law starts playing, and he's like, he's going to change, but then he's like, I'm sure my father's going to be different from now on. And if he's not, I'll just blackmail him. And then so he goes, never have any fucking kids. But yeah, it's just, and there's a lot of debate between the society. Like, you don't have to work for a living. You just sit there and you take it. And people like me, we got to go out there and we work for a living. You're a thief. Yeah, but at least I do my own job. I don't sit there and let people do my jobs for me. I go out there and I get dirty and I get in the garage and I do what I got to do. And you just sit back. I mean, your mother pays for all your stuff. Which is true, But I don't know. I would have liked to have seen a sequel to this. But this film didn't do that good. Why? Who knows? This is definitely one I'll be checking out every year from now on. I might even watch this in the summer, for all I care. But this is going in my Christmas watches, along with Die Hard, Scrooged, Batman Returns. It's going in there. So, what else could I say? The Ref, pretty good. So what are your thoughts on The Ref? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.